Quimby and, sorry, Platt. Clayton's Platt. That's why I told him that it's happy to have total and everything else.
Okay.
Do what you gotta do, so that's what I did, I went up back all the way up to this wall. And I dug a huge.
Well, no, I gotta get this.
Swale.
So it's the initial for that technical, right?
Yeah, it is.
They just became a major
So.
To see if we will accept it as complete.
And the fees for that are.
Loaded up my dump trailer.
As hot as I thought in here.
Defined as 3 lots.
Because it's splitting into 2 and you're taking 2 out of that existing, so that it's sitting there and that makes it 3.
Yeah, you're first.
I think I might have taken the big one, the big one.
I took 1, 2, and I left it at home.
Yeah.
Hot water tank, which is sitting on cinder.
Well, they'll have.
We.
There's the water line. So I had 5 feet.
So these are the minutes? That was the few.
No, so.
Here's a big one. You can open it up.
I can, yeah, we can.
I want it back
3 of us could.
because I don't have any other one.
Well,
Yeah.
But you guys can use that.
Maybe place and change. Oh, wait.
Jim, you're right
Right here.
Right there.
Yeah.
there. Larry.
I don't know. I think she's close to it.
Like a week or 2 ago.
No, we heard from Paul that she may have had it last night. He hasn't done it.
She was close.
4th of July.
Huh?
4th of July, maybe.
Yeah.
4th of July, baby. That's kind of cool.
My niece is a 4th of July baby. Her middle name is
We gotta get some live shows in here. Maybe some country rap. Pack the house.
That's awesome.
We can get 150.
I gotta go to Boston from here.
tonight.
Flying to Florida at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Do a what?
I gotta go to Florida tomorrow morning. I gotta go to Florida.
Do it a what?
Flying's easy.
Well, okay, wait, you know, I just heard on the radio this morning, it closed.
Yeah.
So how do you get out there?
I'm gonna stay in Boston tonight.
Oh,
Right at the
oh.
airport.
Oh, you're gonna stay right there?
Oh, yeah. I'm not a morning person. I'll work at 1 o'clock in the morning, but I won't get up at 5.
Gotcha, okay.
Maybe a golf ball or a fish.
7 o'clock?
That's about
Okay, I'm gonna call the meeting to order. Why don't we start with a pledge of allegiance? United States of America. This republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Here. Okay. Okay, now do a roll call for you. I'm Lawrence Rawls. This is James Morton. This is Chris Crowe. Joe. Marco.
Kim
Ms.
Burkhammer.
Berghammer, and Ed Spiker, and yourself. Okay, we are going to invite the alternate to join us at the table. Be advised, you are not allowed to initiate a motion, you're not allowed to second a motion, you're not allowed to vote on the motion. We would be more than happy to hear what you have to say. Thank you. And that's, Chrissy, and we'll.
Yeah.
So that's.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman. Christie did say that in the months of July, maybe August, she might miss a couple of meetings as she was getting,
Permissible.
okay, I just wanted to give you a heads up.
Okay. Why don't we hold off on the approval of the minutes and go to start with Gary's, and then we can get to the guys from the zoning board. Gary, you want to come up and present yourself?
Yeah, we got a plan here somewhere. Left off that.
We have 1 year.
Well,
Is this the only copy we have?
that is from last 2 months ago.
No,
That one
let's
is.
get all the contours and everything on it.
No, it doesn't.
No.
Well,
No,
this is
so,
what, I
Mr.
left one,
Quimby,
I
that
left
one
one for your
is the
planning
one
board box
from,
out there.
that one is the one that I took home with me from 2 months ago.
So the other one.
I don't know.
It was in the box out there. Left it there last week.
Oh, did I take you?
There.
Well, had it rolled up. Had it rolled up, put it right in there.
So, yeah, this is the
Yeah, that
one.
one, that one's
That's
the
right.
very first
Yeah,
one.
that's the very first one that we had just as a preliminary looking.
That's
at.
why when I dropped it off, I didn't think I had to come again, because you'd already done the preliminary on it. And then you just look at the other one with the contours and everything, and you'd be okay. And I had other stuff I had to do, and I did do it, so.
That's all we have.
Now, I don't know where the other one went, it was in that box.
But it's not, because she just looked, it's not in the box.
Oh, I put it in the box last week for last week's meeting, last month's meeting. So it was in there, I put it in, and Christie, asked Christie, because I asked her if I needed to come, and she said, probably not. And I left the plan. So now the plan is mostly, right?
Well, nobody got it and
Let me
nobody
go
was
out,
here.
let me go out and try to call Clayton,
Okay, thank you.
because he asked me if I needed another plan, I said, no, it's down there, I left it there.
No, I
It'll be
don't,
back there.
I never saw it.
Someone put it back in.
No, I put it right in the folder.
No one seems to have seen it, so.
Well, it would have been big, right?
Yeah, it would
Yeah,
have been
and this
rolled
would
up
have
like
a little
this.
line there. So when are you gonna tell them about the butter that's,
Well, we need an abutters list, so let me show you what that's what we're looking for.
yes, I've seen it.
Have you gone back there now?
No.
It wouldn't just be sitting there. is it?
And if Clayton were here tonight, I would say that this is what.
And we had an approval, we had an application for the subdivision, which we haven't had.
Excuse me, but is that something you just turned out, or is it always?
We were going to ask Mr. Pat to give us this type of documentation. It's a lot easier to look through an abutters list like this.
I understand, but what you had in your hand and something which was an application, is that something where,
Yeah, we tabled it.
is that something that's already on file or here? Do we have that?
We don't have it. We didn't get anything.
Okay.
Nobody showed up last month, neither Mr.
I'm
Platt.
just saying,
nor Mr.
do we
Quimby.
have it here in the office that the town clerk could give to Clay or somebody?
No,
Okay. So we can't really expect Clay to show up, correct?
but it's something we can ask for because he has to send these abutters notices out. So when he sends them out, he can list the list that he has sent to, rather than just coming in and giving us this, because nothing's been noticed. Nobody's been noticed. Barry,
Don't
I'm
those-
sorry.
What you're holding on to, doesn't that represent the fact
This
that
is,
they've been
this is
notified?
not, no, this is not Clayton Platt. This
I
is
know that,
not-
but I'm just saying, what you're holding on to, doesn't that indicate that those people have been notified about a subdivision of which they are in a butter?
For a different subdivision.
Yes, I realize
Yes,
that, but
but
not,
that-
yeah, we're not talking
Yeah.
Harris. we're just
That's
talking-
all the abutters
Right.
around there.
But it's just easier, and he's already made the list, if he gives us a copy of a list like this as well as these. That's all we're asking.
We discussed on Sunday that upon her approval, that Melissa would in the future hopefully be doing that. She would take that list and she would generate those.
Mhm.
But, okay. Are you in agreement with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So are we gonna wait for Mr. Quimby, or are we gonna?
Well, we can go
Do you
on.
have any other business you're gonna go over?
Oh, there he is.
Yeah, he's out there calling him.
Now he doesn't have to call.
Okay, so we gotta we can still look at this.
Oh, that's
Look at
my,
the big picture.
did you happen to bring another?
You didn't find the one that I dropped off yet, right?
No, I looked in the back office.
Come on.
Grab it right now.
Please, yes, sir. You're first in line.
I would have brought more.
Gary or everyone?
You had some. And if you want to pass this around, or?
We advise that the agenda says this is a minor subdivision, but when indeed it's a major subdivision.
Okay, yeah.
We're carving 2 lots out of it, one.
Yeah.
So we're gonna end up with 3 lots. So this is also an initial hearing. This is basically the first time we've seen you guys. And look,
Second time.
okay.
First official time, I guess.
So we would ask, I guess, that you leave this information with us. If you have anything we want to add to that.
Yep.
And do you have more copies, you said, or is that it?
Well, I would have, I thought, I talked to Gary, said he said he dropped them off.
I'll drop that other copy off.
Yeah, no, it's got lots.
Wow, I
Maybe
know,
do
that's
another.
kind of ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah,
I'll bring plenty next time.
We'll ask, but I would like extra copies for everybody, but we'll make the inquiry. That's
Okay.
all we can do.
Yeah, yeah.
And have you sent out the butters notices?
I was waiting for this meeting.
Right, he
So
has to,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
we have-
Oh, okay.
We have to accept it, and then he can send out
Yeah.
the.
Okay. So the fact that that person was complaining about not receiving a butters notice was, they haven't been
Right.
sent out to anybody, so.
That was a good reading.
I have a list too.
Oh, but
Yeah.
will you provide that
Yeah.
list for us?
Yeah.
Thank you so much. See, he does have a list.
Yeah.
That just makes it so much easier when we're
Yeah.
looking through everything.
There really are too many. buttons, actually.
And Clayton, I have an unrelated question. In your experience, has anybody ever used the center of a road as the basis for a setback?
Well, I think the zoning calls for the edge.
What?
Zoning, it's actually.
I know the zoning code's the edge. I just want to make sure.
The Sunapee zoning actually cites the center line.
Somebody sent us a proposal using the middle of the road.
Yeah.
And I think
Most
on,
towns use the edge of the right of way.
yeah, and on
for
class
the setback.
6 road.
Most towns use the edge of the right of way for the setback.
We do
That's what
too,
zoning says.
Yep. from the edge of the road, not
Right,
right.
right. And Sunapee's like 50 feet from the center line. So.
All right, so that takes care of that. All right, so anything else that anyone would like?
Can you provide a deed,
The whole property,
copy of the deed?
the whole property is now, yep.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Lots.
Oh,
U-shaped road. with a bunch of oval trails.
Meeting is, make sure I get that right.
be the first
First
Wednesday in August.
7 o'clock here.
Yeah. Okay. So anybody want to move that we accept this initial drawing and
I'll move that we accept the drawing.
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Moving on, something else is out this week.
We will see you next month. And obviously, if we have any questions, we'll. Thanks, Clay.
Can we keep this?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks,
Thank you very much.
All right, great. We'll be back.
Okay, just to, all right, the next item will be a hearing from the guys from the zoning board. Hey, Bruce and Jason. Bruce and Jason, you're on.
And Brenda.
What?
Brenda.
Oh, I'm sorry, Brenda's the zoning board also.
Didn't see
Pull up a chair,
Brenda's,
Brenda.
Sneak in.
What do you want to know?
The reason primarily we called you here is that one of the primary things we're going to do for next spring's town meeting is we warn items to increase fees, okay? Among other things that we're doing, okay?
So you're not gonna have a special town meeting?
You have to have 2 special town meetings and then it goes to the warrant.
Okay, just not town meeting, just special.
Well, we're.
Special meeting,
Two
yeah.
hearings,
You're not gonna,
and then a special meeting
Right.
for certain things. And then we're gonna have 2 hearings for the town meeting to get the other things that we, see, there's certain things we have to go through, like the fees.
Yep.
Have to go through
Yep.
town meeting. Some of the other stuff we can do at a special meeting, which we're gonna piggyback approval for the roads, a meeting for it on the tail end of it.
So So in the zoning ordinance, there are two fees that you guys are responsible for. One is the $20 appearance fee. Okay. And then there's another $2 permit fee for, God only knows what. And I was hoping Christie would be here tonight so we can ask her what it is and has anybody ever been charged for? It would appear that the $2 fee is sort of ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then if you take the $20 and then you hit it with an inflation rate, it gets you at least 50. And now what we are going to be trying to do here with this board is that these fees will cover the cost of the applicant. So that would cover the notice, the notice to the publication of the paper, cover the assessors, and at some point it will cover for us taking the Mylars down to the registry of deeds. So the $20 fee on yours end is probably just given the cost of it, put it in the paper.
Now, this fee is for what, for when someone?
It's an appearance fee. As they come through the door to talk to you, until such times it changes, which won't be until next spring, we'll want a $20 made out to the town of Croydon. And you give it to select board, give it to the town clerk.
Town clerk.
Melissa.
Different. It's select board money, not town clerk money.
Goes to her.
Well, it goes in the box.
Yeah.
Okay.
But inevitably it goes to her.
And given nobody seems to know what the $2 fee is for anyway, forget it.
Yeah, I just said, certificate of compliance.
That's the one that Mayhew said that you, at a certain point, you can use instead of a building permit. That was one that he was stuck on changing. He never
Who is
could
he?
explain Mayhew.
Well, he's not here.
Yeah, no, yeah, he could never really explain to me.
Yeah. So nobody, as I say, nobody knows
Right.
what the hell it is.
What's the verbiage?
What's that?
The $2 fee, what's the verbiage?
Okay.
Before a certificate of compliance or a permit may be issued, the applicant shall pay a fee of $2. And that is under Article 8, which is certificate of compliance or permit required on or after the effective date of this ordinance. It shall be lawful to change the nature or extent of use of a structure or lot, erect any structure, sign, building, relocate any building in any district without obtaining a certificate of compliance or a permit from the select. Compliance is selectmen shall view the area, site of each proposed change or extension of the use of any lot or structure, and shall review any plans, maps, diagrams describing the proposed use, and if such proposed use is permitted use under this ordinance, they shall issue a certificate of compliance upon payment of the applicable fee, which is $2.
So that's basically saying that somebody from the select board is going to go out and look at every project, right? Make sure that it's 35 feet from the setback line, to make sure that the septic's approved, to make sure that any of the ordinances that we have in town are compliant. So have we ever done that?
Or if somebody wanted to change a use of a lot and they wanted to go from a residential to adding a commercial use, or they wanted to go from commercial to a light industrial, which have all of their own problems.
So along that, are you guys gonna change where you need a permit for anything over 100 square feet? Including a shed, a garage, because people are, right now, the only time you need a permit is for a house. Living quarters.
Yep.
So people are building sheds, garages, whatever, and they may be right on the line.
Well, so there's another school of thought that we're issuing permits to anybody building a foundation. That's what the new buzzword is, anything with a foundation.
So concrete slab being a foundation,
Yep,
Anything with a full.
sits on pillars, that's not a foundation.
Correct.
Okay.
So, and that's a horrible
Yeah, it is.
yes, reason too. So it really should be based on square footage,
Yes,
whether you need a permit or not.
right.
and I actually like site plans. Anything that's non-residential use should have site plan. Change in use should have site plan.
Change of use, I would agree with.
Mhm.
Somebody wants to build a 3-stall garage on their land. I don't
It's
think we need
residential
site plan.
use.
Residential, right?
That's residential.
So you want commercial, you want a site plan for commercial use? Or
Light industrial.
light
use.
industrial?
Anything that's non-residential use should have, because you're gonna wanna know about hours of operation, traffic count,
Yep.
parking.
Yep. Yep.
Where are you going with all of the wastewater? What do you do? So it's non-residential.
So you need a dual ordinance, that one that talks about non-residential structure builds and one that talks about residential structure builds. So you have to decide on what the square footage minimum is gonna be. So, I mean, I would think that we would want to let people build up to 200 square feet, 10 by 20 shed. Without a building.
Without a permit.
Mhm.
It's fair.
Now, if you think that's too big because of the tiny homes we have now, then what we should do is we should say that any structure built on property less than 200 square feet, not containing a bathroom or running water. Now you've got everything covered. So that's pretty much a garage or a barn.
Yeah.
Right? And that way there you don't allow a 200 square foot tiny house. Like you, basically.
Yep.
Bedroom and a bathroom you could do in 200 square feet, right?
Yep.
So you really want to know if those things are going on, because some of the properties won't be conducive to the land ordinances they're gonna build, right? But somebody may have 2-acre lot that they want to put a garage on. We should let that happen, but if, you know what I mean?
Right.
Because anybody with less than 3.5, or is it, we're 3-acre minimum, right?
3.5.
3.5. So anybody with less than 3.5 acre lot technically has to ask for a variance to build a house.
Right.
Except the village districts, they're already under.
But I think that people should have the latitude to put up a small structure, warming shed,
Right.
cabin.
Well, we're trying to get an ADU ordinance. That's another thing that's on our docket, so that people have that flexible.
Right, but you're gonna collect money for that, right?
It's a permit, it's
Yeah.
permitting,
Yep.
and there's going to be. some
Also has a bathroom.
restrictions. It has a bathroom, which has to be tied to the main septic on the house, and if it's going to be attached, then there has to be some type of deed restriction, so that the owner has to occupy one or the other structure, which would go with the property. So, keep it so that it's not going to be something that is a tiny home, that is just, but it gives people the flexibility so they could rent it out and make that extra money, or put an older family member in one or the other.
So are we using certificate of compliance, Joe, in this town as the
We
certificate
haven't
of
used
occupancy?
that. We haven't used
Or is
that.
that
That's
different?
something that I'd be interested in, putting up stuff that's been checked by, like the fire department for health and safety issues.
Yeah.
Making that part of what the adjustment is, but we'd have to bring the permit fee up to cover the actual inspection.
But if somebody's building a house today, how do they get the final CO?
The only thing that gets a permit, they don't get anything else. Nothing else comes through.
When I first came in to get a permit, I was told that the select board gives the permit for $3. Is that true or not true? Do you know?
Nobody knows.
Nobody
They're
knows.
shaking their head.
There's
No,
no
the-
CO.
Okay, so what we're saying then is we're not gonna get rid of the $2 fee, but we're gonna make it something else.
Right, and apply it to actual, like, since it's a certificate of compliance, you're complying with health and safety, which is what our.
Well, health and safety ordinances, distances, sight lines, all that stuff.
Right.
Okay, given that, okay, so we got a $20 now appearance fee, which we're gonna raise to 50, 'cause that'll cover at least the ads and in the papers, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So now this permitting fee, what range are we talking about in terms of how much that would? I mean, when you do this, are you charging anybody? When you go out as the fire chief, do you charge the town for your services for doing this?
Look, we should.
Well, right, but you should.
Right.
And this isn't you as an independent person, this is you as the fire chief, right? And that the fire department should be reimbursed for your
Time.
looking after the health, safety, welfare, whatever the town, right, okay. So what would your reasonable hourly fee be?
$75 an hour would be fine.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding.
No,
That's probably,
wait,
no, that's
you
probably
got-
accurate.
It's probably accurate.
probably
because You got a vehicle involved and,
Probably accurate.
Well, how about a flat fee for it instead of hourly? I
Yeah, no, but I just want to make sure whatever
know,
the fee is covers
Your flat
his
fee is
costs,
75
okay?
minutes. That way you're covered for like 90 minutes.
Yeah.
That includes.
That's
Right.
fair, because that's,
Right.
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 Honestly, that's comparable to what I'm charging for my own business, so if I have to take time away from my business to go do this, you know.
The other thing we don't do, and it's along the same vein, is gas installation inspections.
Right.
The town of Croydon, so somebody can call up Goodrich and say, hey, I want a 120-foot gas line put in, and Goodrich comes and puts the gas line in, but there's nobody from the fire department that checks it, and SOP on that is typically the fire department will have a safety officer, and the installer will keep the gas line pressurized for 24 hours, and the pressure has to be maintained between 18 and 20 PSI. So they'll bowl it up to 20 PSI, it can't drop below 18, it can't cause a single fire. But that's another fee that the town could collect on.
Right.
As people convert from oil to gas. And that's actually a hugely important life safety thing.
Yes.
Because as good as Goodrich is, if they make a mistake, you wouldn't know it because they're not leaving that line pressurized for a day, right? They're hooking up.
Right. Yep.
I think if we're gonna have home inspections for COs, we need to have somebody with a license
License for what?
to be a licensed inspector for this stuff.
So towns typically don't use a licensed inspector. What they do for the CO is they have the building department who contracts the fire department to go out and do life safety. Because nobody can go in and, you're not, when you give a CO, you're not inspecting the electrical, you're not inspecting you don't inspect those things unless you're gonna get to the town to the position where you're gonna start to go in and do all of that. So that would be a building department person that would be hired by the town to go and inspect the site work before the foundation's poured, the footings of the foundation itself. Then they would go and inspect, the whole thing, and you would not move on a building until the inspector signed off on each of the line items. And there's not a separate fee for that. That's a tax dollar revenue issue because the inspector doesn't get a 25 bucks every time he goes for inspection. You pull a building permit, typically in larger towns, the permit's $300, $400, $500. That covers all those inspections.
It's more than that,
In some cases, right? It's usually based on the size or
yeah.
value of the home.
It's square footage.
Yep.
It's an umbrella permit, it's a flat fee, and then it's based on the square footage per trade, and then also your impact fees for your water and sewer and school and fire. And so, so you're talking about not only having a building department support staff for that, it's.
And that's not one person, it's two, because you gotta have a secretary to manage, administrator to manage it, and then the guy has to do it. And we don't have enough building to do that.
Okay, so back to Brenda's point though, what would the liability of the town be if we gave a certificate of occupation and then 2 days later the house broke?
That was where I was
See,
gonna ask that same question.
he's a fire chief
I don't
or
think
something
you're-
not affiliated with the
Right,
town.
but I don't think there's any certain license to actually hold to do those inspections. But there are codes that I follow, which, I look up those codes and make sure that they're following those codes when I do those certain inspections. But you're right, that is a good question, and I'd like to know how are we protected if something goes wrong, because maybe I didn't see something, or someone did something after I left.
Yeah,
Something went
in the
wrong.
same way that every other community is covered, right? So you're not there to assure that the workmanship is correct.
Right.
You're there to look to make sure that there's an electrical box. And the electrical box appears to be in code because, everything's stapled down, everything's where it should be, and there's individual breakers, and you walk around with a little tester and you tested some circuits and that looks good. There's no liability for you saying, okay, here's your CO.
Right.
Because the builder is saying the house is done. It's the builder's liability. That's who built it.
Okay.
We're an administrative, you're crossing Ts and dotting Is with this process. So initial process is that you come and open up a building permit. In order to close that process, the town then goes and provides a certificate of occupancy, which basically says you have satisfied all of the ordinances and permitting requirements of the town. And here you go.
Now, this whole function would take place between the select board and the fire department, right? And so that means the zoning board and the planning board once
Yeah.
the
When
permit.
they contact us and say it's finished, they'll get
Okay,
their,
so we're done.
right.
So I guess now you can go back to what is the fee now to get a building permit?
$35.
How much?
35.
So,
The building permit's separate from the certificate of occupancy.
right, but if someone comes in to get a building permit because they're building a house, then that's the time to include the price.
Correct.
For the certificate,
Right.
say you can't move in until you get this done.
Yep. And
So
the-
now your fee's $170.
Yep, and a great reason for that is some people come in and get building permits and never build.
Right.
Right.
Or they'll come in and get a building permit and 2 years later, you have to renew it. So you should have a renewal fee. It shouldn't be the same price as the initial fee.
Yeah.
And my suggestion would be that we call Grantham, Sunapee, Unity, and
Springfield maybe.
size communities the same as ours, and we find out what their building permit fees are. And we make sure that we're in a general range
Vicinity of.
of what they are, because we may sit here at the table and say, well, let's charge $50. And we may find out that every town around us is $500. Well, that would be pretty silly for us to charge $50.
But again, Jim, isn't this a function of the select board? It's their fee, right?
It is.
This is not something.
Right, but if you're gonna start paying me to go do,
Right.
if you're gonna start paying me to go do their certificate, that's $75 right there. So why would you only charge $50? Now, who's gonna come up with the other 25?
Right.
So person
Get
get the
it to the
permit.
board so that we.
So it's really, it's you guys' purview for the amount to charge.
Right.
And then it's zoning board or planning board's purview to write the ordinance, basically.
Right.
The language, yeah, it should be a
Well,
planning,
or to
it should be
update
a
the fee
planning ordinance,
schedule.
I would think.
Yeah, we get the fee schedule, but we need the suggestions from the boards.
Right.
Correct.
to Handle it. That's how it,
Well, the select board is the only board that has authority to issue fees to the public. We can't vote and say,
Right.
it has to be approved by the select. They're the fee guys.
So is this something, Joe, you and
Yeah.
Ed and Amy can come up with?
Yeah, if we get numbers together that you all think are good on what we need to change, because like you showed, the excavation permit hasn't been changed in years.
Yep.
And need to go over all of them.
Okay. Now, I'm gonna interject now with, we've got a time constraint, okay? And the time constraint is based on what the select board wants to do. Do you want to explain to everybody what you guys are trying to do in terms
We
of the
would like
bond?
to, FEMA is a reimbursement. So any repairs that are done to the road have to be bonded by us. Repairs that were made, some of they're good repairs, but a lot of it's temporary stuff. So we're gonna have to do a bond. What we'd like to do is shoot for first week in September or so, having a special meeting. We can have a hearing 15 before, we can have that the first week, and then we can have the special meeting. The stuff that we need, that we can get done at the special meeting, that we want to do, will pass, and then we'll close that meeting and open one up for doing a bond for the road, assuming that we get the information we need in time. But all the repairs, like some of the repairs we did the first storm, got washed out the second storm because adequate stuff wasn't able to be done. And technically, according to FEMA and Homeland, we can't do permanent repairs until after they've inspected. So all we can do is estimates and everything. That's why I pushed it towards the end of August and stuff. As it gets closer, we'll have a better idea what Joe's coming with, and then piggyback into will save on ads. It'll save on the cost of the election people that are here to count votes, everything, because, we'll get them for one single price and all that. So it'll save a considerable amount.
Joe, when you say a bond, you mean you get
A loan.
from the bank?
Yeah, well, actually, if FEMA's repairs come in, that FEMA's going to accept it. See, the county, we got no problem, it's $190,000. The state is 2.5 mil. Now, maybe the last storm we got enough, and most of this stuff that was done was the same damages. Once FEMA approves it, there's a possibility that we could get 0% loans from the state, but there has to be a definitive FEMA answer on the situation.
Right.
They
Yep.
won't give it unless, if FEMA's iffy or says no, they won't give us the 0% loan.
Correct.
But we
Correct.
can get a 0% if FEMA okays it,
Correct.
which is kind of why we're pushing it off a month to see.
Yeah.
But I would still like to get some of the repairs done before winter because it's just gonna make it worse.
I talked to Cindy Worthington.
Warmington.
So you're correct. So they're going to do an aggregate of all the towns, which will
Right.
qualify.
I was just gonna
It
say
should
that.
bring
And
it,
so it's
all-
an aggregate.
yeah,
So it is over 2.5 million.
Yeah.
It's closer to 8.
for the second
And,
storm.
yep, and I believe that you should have that information very quickly because the state
Yeah,
should
we're
be able to
getting-
give you a loan for the money like that.
We're getting information pretty quick.
So the question that I have is, in an emergency, don't we as a town have an emergency protocol for handling non-tax implication loans or
If we can get the 0%, we don't have a problem. Everything is hinged on FEMA.
Okay,
If FEMA says no, then we have to do the town meeting and the bond and everything else.
if FEMA says no, it's on us.
Right, right. And if FEMA says yes, then we can hit the state up for the free ones. We don't need a special meeting, anything else.
Yep, that's right.
Okay, so we need 2 public hearings for our stuff to become warrant items next spring.
Okay.
So when I was talked to Joe initially, he's saying, well, we'll think about it in terms of piggybacking them, okay? But what you're saying is you may not need a meeting at all.
Everything hinges on FEMA. Everything hinges on,
Now, is this something you're gonna find out in the next like 2 weeks or so?
hopefully. I mean, some of the inspections are coming down. They're actually moving fairly quick. Our legislators jumped on it from the get-go and have been helping. Shaheen got into it, her team working on it too. So,
Okay, so
pretty good.
that means that we don't have to start setting dates tonight as to.
No.
Okay,
No, I mean, we should still get everything lined up, ready to go.
okay,
And then if we need to, we can slam it.
okay, because I was thinking in terms of, yeah, maybe later in September, October for our stuff, but if we had to move it up because of your.
Yeah, it would just be a matter to save approximately $1,000. I mean, it's not much, but when you're facing what we are, it adds up.
We're a little town, $1,000.
Is a lot.
Yeah, yeah. Anything we can do to save.
Penny.
Now, to the zoning board, what we're looking to do, we have 4 items that we're working on, okay? Increase of fees.
Yep.
Additional dwelling units, wireless communication, and a generic site plan regulation.
Okay.
And which would be, right now, there are all these things out there that there are no town regulations for them, okay? If we set up a generic site plan, they have to come to the town clerk and say, I want to build such and such, okay? And all of a sudden that will activate us or somebody to start looking at what the hell's going on. And that's what happened with the tower up on the hill here. The guy walked in the door and he asked Charlotte, well, who do I need to talk to? The tower up, Charlotte said nobody. The guy sat there like, huh? It's the only town he'd ever been in.
Personally, I'm glad it's there.
Well, yeah.
It's helped me out.
Okay, well, we're gonna have a discussion about that. Okay, those 4 things are gonna occupying our time. After that, okay, we're looking at, we had didn't we have a meeting probably over a year ago, right? We sat down and started going through the definitions and saying this change. That is our next step after, not necessarily next spring, it's after we get the public hearings going, then we'll start talking about changing the definitions.
Yeah, those don't have to go to a meeting.
Those don't have to go to a warrant.
So,
Well, we already did that.
so we've already gone through our zoning ordinance and made a bunch of changes that we felt need to be done.
Good, okay.
So I'm assuming what we need to do now is just hand those to you guys, you look them over and see our changes and just approve.
Yeah.
And then that goes to the voters.
At a public hearing,
Mhm.
right? Okay.
Okay.
Right,
So-
but this isn't something you can look forward to in August or September. Think about maybe
November or sometime.
Okay.
So in the interim, you'll bill them $20 if they appear, and then that's it. So such time as we can raise them.
Yeah.
Too. So,
And I would consider having a different fee structure for residential than commercial.
Yes, yeah,
You're
absolutely.
gonna spend
I would
more time.
consider,
on commercial.
I would base your,
Absolutely.
and I would base your permit fee for commercial on the square footage size of the building. So if somebody comes in and they want to buy 10 and put a 50,000 square foot building up, that permit fee should be like $2,500.
Right.
Yep.
And then next year, we can talk about impact fees. Or we'll start.
yeah, right, we'll start small. We're on the back.
We really need those for, again, huge
Yeah,
developments. that
commercial buildings.
do stuff.
So Joe, you might led to believe then, you guys on the select board are gonna start thinking in terms of what this structure would look like in terms of, the fees,
We can
the permit fee.
that and get all the pieces together and start going over what they.
Okay,
Should.
and then you'll bring it
I
to
know.
us.
The hardest part is gonna get them to.
Fees for applications, so they're basically $200.
Yeah.
Ours is 20, theirs is 200.
Yeah, see, but that's what you want to see. You want to be within the guidelines of
Yeah.
the surrounding community.
Right.
Yeah, and that'll actually.
Otherwise, you're gonna flop
Check
the
a few around.
No,
Yeah, no.
but you're, otherwise you're losing money.
So it's in Grantham, it's $200 just to appear before the zoning board
To file an application.
Yeah.
for a variance,
Well, our variance, special exception,
right?
appeal, administrative appeals.
Now,
They're all $200.
have they ever justified what the $200 is for?
Don't have to.
What's that?
I know you don't have to, but if you're sitting.
You wanna
in
get
front of,
sued.
You got an
An
audience
application
in
for a
front of you,
variance
that
is
somebody, what the hell is that for?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be nice if you could tell it?
Keep the tax rate.
Yeah.
And that just came off their website.
Yeah, but we're not a profit center, right?
Wow.
We'd love to be. Yeah, we're not.
So I need to.
So the 20 to 50 is probably too low.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
All
Well, if we're
the-
gonna make them so they include the filing fee and the newspaper and the abutter fee.
Melissa-
Yeah, I mean, the newspaper stuff's not cheap.
No.
No.
75.
It's ridiculous.
We had it
28 bucks.
We think that the Kearsarge shopper, okay, the prices are outrageous because of their distribution.
Right.
Whereas the Eagle Times sells a lot less copies.
Right.
Probably.
So
a lot cheaper.
also, I think we need to start thinking of what is acceptable different ways to notify.
Well, okay, we're,
Not many people
Okay.
buy the paper anymore.
right. So what we're gonna do there is one of these items that doesn't have to be a warrant item will be the fact that we will be able to notify these proceedings on the town website in lieu of, okay,
Right.
going, and that right there is safe.
Yeah.
Right
It'd be
now,
much easier for us.
Don't some are in the
Some of the
RSA's,
Paper's not easy.
like the public hearings,
Some
things
stuff.
like that.
so,
I'm sorry, wait a minute.
No, some, well,
Hold on.
no, you're right. It's on the
Rich,
RSA.
what's your-
well, there's some that are in the RSA's, right? Specifically that say you have to put it in the local thing,
Yeah,
but some
Yeah.
probably not.
Okay,
a lot of
the
them.
question becomes, can we change that language? And because it's basically accomplishing the same thing.
Depends
I don't
on
know.
the statute election.
As a matter of fact, more people who put it on the town website probably will see it than it.
Right. Who's gonna follow the
The
RSA?
statute says it has to be in a newspaper. You don't put it in the
Publications.
newspaper. So you're gonna get, and there's a problem, you're gonna get sued,
Right.
lose.
Especially on
Well, no,
variance.
I think
There's not a newspaper anymore. What happens if there's not a newspaper anymore?
Then you gotta get the 400 clowns in Concord to change the RSA.
Well, I'm just saying we gotta look through and make sure which ones are which.
We only
before
have
we
Oh,
change
you're
it.
right.
Been on the edge for a while.
So the planning board.
With the exception of Hope
public
Damon.
notices
All clowns.
Changed last year that state that if you have a website that is used,
Yeah.
you can put your public notices on the website rather than in a newspaper. Yes. But it must be something that you use regularly, post your minutes and your agendas and everything else. We have to change that because our regulations, our subdivision regulations from 1979 say that we have to post it in a paper. So we have to change our subdivision regulations before we can change using it on the website. So that's
Okay,
what
now,
we,
is that a warrant item or not?
that's something we can do at a public hearing,
Hearing, okay. Change the regulation.
change the regulation. to say that we can post it in a website per the RSA. 40,
That's planning.
yeah, that's planning board. I don't know about your zoning, but I know our planning board, we can do it.
And that's the direction I was working.
Do we have a list, of the things we can change by public hearing?
Yeah, anything here?
No, not everything, but as they come up, I research them and go to the
Well, I'm just
NHMA.
curious if we should start putting,
I mean, maybe
we should
they
start
have something.
getting a list together
Yep.
of everything that can be done at a public hearing and start scheduling public hearings every month. There's no reason why we can't have a
Yep.
public hearing during the meeting.
We can have a quick 10-minute
Correct.
public hearing to change
Yep.
things.
I
Absolutely.
mean, all you have to do is open up a public hearing. You have to notice it. Okay. But then if there's nobody in the room, open the public hearing, close the public.
Okay,
And
but
that's it.
first off, the first public hearing that we have to do, so we have to notice it in the
That's public
paper.
forum. That's, people to talk.
We have to notice it in the paper that we're gonna have a public hearing to change the way we notice public hearings.
Yep.
So that's gonna cost us $75. Once we do that, then we can start having a public hearing every single time, put it on the agenda, and change everything. But the first one will have to be in the paper.
So just do it
Yeah,
next week,
Sounds like a
So
next month.
make a motion.
Uh.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
By all means, what are we moving? That we
I
had
don't know what they're-
create this list of,
No, you
That we make a public,
can do the changes at a regular.
yeah, so what you're
meeting as
proposing
a public
is that and part of our agenda becomes public hearing every.
so I
No.
make a motion that we put a notice in the paper, the Kearsarge Shopper, per our regulation.
Why the Kearsarge Shopper? Why not go with the Eagle Times? It's cheaper.
I don't
Whatever,
think you can put it in the shopper. I don't think they recognize that as a publication.
The
Not a
Kearsarge
legal
shopper?
publication.
That's
Not
what-
the
That's what we've
shopper,
done.
Eagle's
I know
cheaper. It's
they have all
like
kinds of
20,
notices, but they're also in the
Valley.
newspaper. Yeah, Valley.
Every
News.
town around
It
here.
has to be in Valley.
Put them in the shopper.
so whatever paper, I make a motion that we put a notice in some type of newspaper that has a local reading, to have a public hearing to change the way we notice public meetings so that we can put them on our website.
Second.
And am I to understand, like, we could do that in our August meeting?
Yes.
And then from then on, we go, okay.
As long as somebody puts it in the paper.
Melissa. Okay. You got that?
We need a
Good, okay.
vote.
Melissa's-
Yeah, probably.
We need a
On
vote.
it.
Well, I have a question before.
Wait,
The question if we decide to change, so say we're gonna do that, which you said is in like the subdivision regulation. Do we first, and so we were talking about putting it in to say we're doing the public hearing, but for all these things that could be changed at public hearing, do we first have to, have a change on paper and then this group has to say, we vote that that's gonna be the official change and then say the public hearing? Or, because if we vote to put the ad in the newspaper, but we don't actually we haven't all agreed on what it's gonna say. I mean, I assume you go into the public hearing with this is what's proposed, not just, what do you guys think?
Yeah, right.
So-
Yeah. With language.
If we were gonna do it next month, then wouldn't we have to first have something this is the change we're making, we all agreed on it?
okay,
No, so,
The
so
specifics.
when you notice a public hearing, you're noticing the public of the topic that you are discussing that allows the public to have input.
Okay.
That is by RSA. That's all you're doing. You're not providing verbiage ahead of time.
Okay.
You're providing verbiage at the meeting. The chairman opens the meeting, opens the public hearing for the change of the ordinance, reads the verbiage, the discussions that's discussed, the verbiage is altered and edited. Then the public hearing is open, the public speaks if they wish to, they can have input to that. Maybe they don't like our word. They say, hey, why don't you change is to that? And they have their commentary, then close the public hearing when there's no more people talking and you vote.
Okay.
It's all, the only thing you're doing when you notice a public hearing is allowing the public to understand that you're going to
Have the meeting.
have the meeting in regards to this issue, and this issue is gonna be voted on, which is gonna change something in this book. And if they're
Yeah.
interested, they should show up.
And we're talking about a specific item, which is how we will notify.
How we will notice.
And we're not gonna be
public
talking about anything else, just that specific item.
Right,
Okay.
right.
So the motion has been forwarded that we agree to do this in August, I think. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So that's big. So from then on, once that is accomplished, then we don't, oh no, then we have to have another thing to go from that verbiage to a website, correct?
Well, they'll be very easy.
But we can do it without having to hold a public hearing. We can
This,
do it.
will this include zoning also, for when we have hearings, or do we have to?
Separate
I
vote.
don't know,
Separate.
which, yeah, you
It
guys.
would
are
just be
good.
for subdivision.
But you can do the same thing we're doing, right?
So we can do the same thing, though?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to do it in our own. Okay.
Well, you have to make sure that it's
Yeah, you have to
allowed,
make sure that you can.
because your regulations are different. You're actually a totally separate entity.
And I think because you're so legal and you adjudicate things that regulations are a bit more strict.
Yeah.
So because everything goes to you for appeal.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. I don't.
You're a separate judicial.
So
You
before,
say no by the.
Well, again, I still think it's silly, because like you said, I think more people would see it on the website than they would in the newspaper.
Well, send it to me and I'll put it on the website as
Yeah.
well. So you're
Yeah.
covered on both.
I'm
ways.
just trying to do away with dealing with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are the
We want them to
emails
survive.
up and running on the website?
Nope, not yet. So we're gonna get together and meet on that, because when I was talking to Enom, everything was going along well, and then I asked them, do we get any kind of a discount for a municipality? So they started giving me, a hard time about being a municipality. Oh, hey, you're a business, we're gonna charge you more. I'm like, no, you're not. You knew I was a business all along. You knew I was a town of Croydon. You knew I was looking for a town of Croydon -NH, and I wanted these many emails, and you look through the whole email string here. Everything says town of Croydon, town of Croydon, town of Croydon, town of Croydon.
Right.
And now all of a sudden, you're gonna
You're
tell me.
shocked?
Yeah, you're shocked and you want more money? I said, no, it's okay. We'll get a Gmail account and we'll just do it for free. Thank you.
so Jason, you gave Joe, right, what your ideas are, how you want to change some of these things, correct? And he's going to make copies for us and get them.
I don't think we did give it to you.
No.
Yeah, no. So, but we can get it.
Didn't you just give him?
No, that was, he gave me.
Rentham.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought you had a list of what you want for
We
change.
have it all written down.
But he didn't turn it over.
You haven't given it to us yet.
Yeah, we have all the changes. Did you send that? Did you send that, how it was all rewritten?
No, I didn't. That's what, that's the.
The only problem.
That's our procedures.
Gmail.
Yeah, that's our
Is it
No.
recognized?
No, that's just.
I'm talking to everybody about that.
Because they've been known to all of a sudden,
Yeah, just,
your inbox is gone and they can't resurrect it. And the problem that we have, that if you're gonna organize, town emails for everybody, those town emails must be held on a server forever. And anybody can come in and say, I want to see
So-and-so.
Ed Spiker's July 5th email to.
and Gmail will not do
Gmail
that.
won't do that. Gmail won't do that. So you gotta, I would find out who other towns are using and how much it costs. Because that's gonna be a huge problem that you're not gonna be able to get around.
Get our own
So
server.
we actually,
Put it up.
now, we've got a committee for the website, because one person can't do it on their lunch break. And I'm hoping to get everybody together next week, and then we'll sit down and start doing some real good research on this.
I just keep 91A in the back of your mind because
Oh, yeah.
it's that the DOJ could get involved with the town, kind of
Yeah.
trouble.
I've been through one of the 91A email requests in Claremont. We had a gentleman, Jim Sullivan, who did that all the time. come in and just say, I need every email on this subject.
Oh, my God.
Oh, and it was not only exhaustive, it was expensive.
So the other thing that the select board should think about along the lines of fees is charging for 91A requests.
Yep.
When 91A requests become burdensome, somebody comes in and says, I want the email on November 20th, 2022 that Marco, if you send any emails to Amy Free, right? There's 5 emails, here you go, right? But sometimes they could come in and they could say, I want to see every single email that Joe Marco sent. That's a legitimate 91A request.
Yep.
Could be 2,000 emails. So how would the town do that? They'd have to make photocopies of everything. They have to send it to the attorney because it has to be sanitized to make sure that there's no private information in any of those emails.
Right.
So it can become a real pain in the neck. So if you get a organized email system, you might want to think about how you're going to
Once,
handle
once
91A.
the tech is up to date, there's a lot of, got to bring into play. But right now, the tech is so, you know,
It's this and it's that.
yeah, yeah.
Paragraph, your 91A isn't 91A.
Yeah.
No.
91A in general, you've got
General.
4 different, or 5 different colons.
Yeah.
So
Up to
any
L.
91A request, any FOIA request, anybody can request anything from anybody.
So when making a 91A request, don't you have to specify, kind of narrow it down what you're seeking within reason regarding a subject?
Nope.
Mm-mm.
I had, when I left office in Derry, somebody went in and said, I want to see every email that Jim Morgan sent in the last 6 years.
Yeah.
And they said, okay, that's $751. The guy went, what? Because it was 7,000 copies.
So I mean, it's
He goes,
$5 for however many sheets and then a quarter for
whatever,
sheet after that. Yeah.
whatever it is, yeah. But the point is that, yes, you can, yes, you can.
I mean, if you come in here and ask the town clerk for a copy of something as a taxpayer, you have to pay for it. So why shouldn't the rest of the people,
As a
when
fee
you're
structure,
asking
you're
for
gonna
stuff
want-
like
There's actually something going on in Newport right now because of a 91A request being made. Yes, a 90, so you're familiar? So a 91A request was made and the documents were given on a thumb drive. So the complaint is that those are not original documents and that they have
So
potentially,
get original documents.
No, you get copies.
You get copies.
Yeah,
I'm just saying that he requested to view original documents
he has that right.
and then was given a thumb drive.
It's
So
not that's not an accurate FOIA request. You should have been allowed to view the
to
document.
view the original document,
Right.
whether they were certain subjects omitted or not.
Yep.
Okay.
If somebody comes in and says, I want to see the originals, they can see the originals. There are certain things they cannot see.
Yep.
But if they're in a public file and pull out the public file, all bets are off. That's why when you have the PA 29s, you take anything that's personal out of the PA 29s. PA 29s is a special assessment file. So people who get a veteran's tax credit, sometimes some towns will keep their DD 214 in there, which you're not supposed to have. You better not give that because that's not anything the town should have. Just saying.
So I guess my other,
Send a note.
I just had one more, I guess, a follow-up question, if you have any experience with. Assuming you get those documents on a thumb drive, a disk, however you get it digitally, do you think that the fee schedule should be the same as receiving paper copies?
Yes.
Sure.
Just because they had to be handled?
Just because we're not going to have 20,000 fees to go through. Make life simple.
Yeah.
Have one fee.
Yeah.
And if it's easier for the town to put it on a thumb drive, put it on a thumb drive. If that's legal.
Hey, you know, and it is, you still have to compile them. Anytime you have to compile records, there should be a fee.
Yeah.
Be an extra fee if you're compiling them and putting them on paper.
I agree.
The most
It's a
important,
handling fee.
the most important thing you guys should understand is when somebody makes a FOIA request, you have to go through the emails and make sure that there's nothing in the email that is pertinent to the reputation or credibility of another member of the town.
Or Homeland Security, or,
So in other words, if they said they wanted all the emails between you two guys, and you guys had a conversation with another resident,
Short
right?
list.
You can't supply that information. It has to be redacted.
Yep.
Because if you do, that person could sue you for divulging what you guys were talking about in that email. So you gotta be careful that you make, so typically what normally would happen is you get a FOIA request. If it's straightforward, show me the tax bill of John Smith, that's easy. But if it's something that's going deep, that people look at and go, I really don't know all the information that the guy wants, really, that's what NHMA is for. Now, that's why you consult those folks for that stuff, because I don't think you want to make that decision
no, you
and then
see
make
me
the
too.
wrong decision.
Right.
All right, so just to close down this piece of the conversation. So are you guys satisfied with where we are and,
Yeah,
and our
yeah, we'll work
going
on.
forward, how we're gonna be?
Work
helping?
on giving you both copies, selectmen and you guys, like a copy of the way it was written, and then a copy of the changes.
What you would like
So
to
you can at
change,
least
okay.
You just read the new one, you're gonna be like, what was-
Yeah, you don't know.
Okay.
You're not gonna know what we changed.
But be advised that, you're not gonna get an answer from us within a month.
Right.
Sorry, I'll make this quick. So I have a couple of days that I can work on these things in case we do end up having a special meeting before the town meeting. I can work on ADU and the wireless, those are kind of done anyway, the ordinances.
Okay, I'm gonna get to that. Okay.
And I'm not sure I have a site plan stuff ready, so I can definitely concentrate on those. But I'd like everybody to look at the copies because I don't want this to be neat. I would like some.
Right, but the site plan, I thought we were gonna put in the wording that if it's over X, we have to inspect it.
I'm talking about having, we need to have a site plan ordinance.
Yeah.
And people have to vote to give us the power to have it.
I thought we'd make copies of the wireless communications.
Yeah.
No, this was on Sunday.
Email.
Yeah.
If
I
think about
email,
the ADUs.
everybody's been
Yeah.
emailed those too. Everybody has it via email. They have copies.
And do they have the ADU also?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ed, I think needs a copy.
This is the ADU, but I don't know where the wireless, okay.
It should be in there.
I'm gonna propose that we have a working meeting mid-month to go over the 4 items and get this is to the planning board, get an idea of where we are in terms of what has to be done to get ready, say, for an early September.
Yeah.
And I don't know what's a decent date on a Wednesday night.
Well, zoning has a meeting the third Wednesday.
I was gonna say, I just wanted to let, I'm just looking, the 19th, we're having our.
21st.
Well, that doesn't really, it's just a working thing.
The working,
Does it matter?
doesn't matter.
26th.
I mean, they wouldn't be here for it, right? It would just be us.
We have the
Okay, the
regular-
19th, okay.
Yeah, we're meeting on Friday, yeah, campfire
You guys are
We'll work
meeting-
Sundays.
You want to meet in the same room as the zoning board?
No, oh, do you have your meeting here?
Yes, we
Yeah.
have to.
Oh,
Well,
Somebody complained, so.
I
Yeah,
don't think we have to. Somebody complains that we said, okay.
Oh,
so we could do
but we
the,
do ours at 6 o'clock,
so we've done it 7.
probably.
And
Well, we only got that one bid so far.
Yeah, and everybody's in agreement, all the landowners.
well, I'm probably gonna be sending you another client.
So we could try it for 7 o'clock on the 19th, and we
Okay.
can always go back in the.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not quite through. All right, so why don't we plan on the 19th?
19th of
Does that have
July.
to be a voted motion or just we can agree to agree?
Chairman sets it.
Yeah. 9-1 decision.
Oh, wait.
No, that's. Okay.
This is what it's accurate.
Okay, so it's
Yeah,
7
yeah,
o'clock
right
on the
now, what am I
19th.
doing?
We'll have the opening session. And the basis of that session will be 4 items that we've been discussing.
So we're dismissed? Are we dismissed?
If you would like to.
Yeah,
Right now.
you guys. Yep, the rest of it's all planning.
Okay,
thank you, guys.
Thank you.
then I have one last item.
Nice to see you.
Yeah.
Send me the.
Chris, before you go there, oh, wait a minute.
I don't know if I could even stand it that long.
All right, one other item is the excavation regulation fees, et cetera. Chris, I'm gonna ask you to go through this stuff and try and tell us what in the hell it all means. What I've got here, they've got the RSA, I've got the town's regular ordinances from 1988.
1987.
This is something separate?
Yes.
87, this is something separate. This would be part of the fee structure if we can ever figure it out. And this is the application that one would have to file.
State. You have questions, you can.
Yeah, and then, and at the working meeting, if we get it done, we get it done. If we don't get it done, we don't.
It's fun stuff.
Yep.
Given how bloody hot it is tonight, I propose we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
What, do we gotta do the minutes?
All in
Yes.
favor?
Oh, yeah, we have to
You
do
can
the
sign
minutes.
Should we just do these?
Oh, we got to sign minutes, okay.
Yes.
Because we don't want them just hanging.
No, we've got to get them.
Now, are the minutes going onto the website
Yes,
for us?
all of the minutes are.
I haven't actually looked in a while at the website, so maybe I should take it.
So we need a motion to approve?
Okay.
Approve what?
Yeah, we.
Well, from each day.
Hopefully it's gonna
There's
be.
3 separate ones.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Okay.
we need 3 separate motions or one.
Should be able to do it on one.
Days.
Yeah.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from May 3rd, May 17th, and June 7th on the planning board.
Second. Oh,
All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Okay. Start the signing process.
Oh, we sign it.
Someone does. I think
Is
there's
there a signatory page or we just sign? it?
Yes, there is. Now,
Look at that.
There's one number.
on the 3rd of May, Kim was the chairman.
Just gonna sign on the bottom.
Can't pay $50.
Oh, you know, this is, library, this one's the 3rd.
This is the only copy we have.
There's many more, that's,
Oh, why aren't there spaces
I
here?
think actually the originals in here, and some faded yellow.
Because I just copied it.
Oh, should,
So everybody can sign it, we just need a majority.
oh, you just need a majority? Oh, okay.
A majority plus the chairman.
Yes.
Fine, I'll sign it.
Love the chairman?
Oh, you're. Yeah, sorry.
Just right
This
here.
one goes to
Mr.
you.
Chairman,
Kim.
were you
You're the
here,
chairman.
May?
What?
Were you there in May?
Was I the chairman? When was I?
No, were you there in May?
No. I was not.
Okay, you should not sign these because you were not there.
Oh, you're right. I shouldn't sign that. Somebody else signed it for me.
You don't have to be
I
there.
was here on the 17th though, right?
Yes, you can sign those.
Do you?
Not sign these.
And I wasn't the chairman until.
Huh?
You were there for that.
This
I think, anyway.
June 7th, I was elected.
I'm an
I was the
excavator.
chairman or I was the chairman?
As soon as
Good,
we
because my
can
son's been
finish
talking about
there, you-
excavator,
She stepped back.
so he can look at
So
these.
I'm not interim chair anymore, you're chairman.
Excavator.
That was one of my kids' first words. She didn't even butcher it.
That's it.
Excavator.
Seriously?
He didn't even butcher
All
it.
right, so now are we ready to adjourn?
Now we're.
One of my oldest, Tommy, that was one of his first words, excavator. He had a thing for heavy equipment, man.
I saw him, Sunday night.
Kim, this one is yours.
All right, motion.
All right,
Oh, no?
yeah, we're done.
Who's ready to?
If you want to propose a motion to adjourn, by all means.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Have a good trip.
Thank you.
Nice
Very
view.
good. And I
I have
just want to say
heard
at the same time, I know you have to run. Second promise. I'm sorry, first of all, that I didn't email you right back.
Oh, do you have it?
I do.
Okay.